Hello, magnificent eardrums. It's Thursday, 26th of March, 2020, and we do warmly welcome you to the Voicing the World Late Night Noisecast, Episode 5. Once again, doing what we can and what we must to ensure feasts of reason, flows of soul, and stolen moments of beauty in the time of Corona. On the show tonight, we're bringing adventures in sound from composer, sound designer, arranger, and orchestrator Chris Warner, from composer and orchestrator Dani Howard, and from pianist, arranger, and composer Rob Barron. I begin tonight's episode as ever then with continuing gratitude for all of your wonderful feedback and interactions across the interweb, emails, texts, the book face, and such. You continue to make a tremendous difference to my efforts here, and it has been lovely to hear of several sales that have taken place of records by my super circle of featured artists as a result of you all having heard their work on this show. So please do find links underneath this video as usual with which to continue to make your support count. I'm all too painfully aware of the fact that this show is going out tonight of all nights, as so many of us self-employed folk face sustained confusion, difficulty, and distress following the statements made today by the Chancellor. I'm attempting, wherever possible at present, to avoid all short-term reactions and all long-term predictions, given the rapid and fluid nature of the situation at hand. I nearly didn't complete production of this show tonight as a result of the day's machinations, but to remain true to this new mantra, I felt it was no time to remove a celebration of supremely gifted creatives from the airwaves. So, here we go. It's day 13 here of isolation and lockdown in the Voicing the World bunker, a state of being made all the more bearable by my extended periods of pondering on which noises to bring to your attention next. First up, in the featured music department tonight then, Mr. Chris Warner. The pitfall of possessing such a super circle as mine is the likelihood of running out of adjectives with which to describe each world grabber. In the case of Mr. Warner, I would have to use up every last one of them, as words cannot describe the profundity of his presence in my life. Instead, I shall lightly tell you that our first encounter involved he showing me round a school where I had just assumed the role of head of jazz studies, some 14 years ago now. His job title there was head of piano and music tech, something I somehow misheard as head of biology. Naturally, thereafter, I found myself overly impressed by this scientist's expansive knowledge of the music industry, feeling simultaneously assured, of course, that this must be a fantastic school to work at if this head of biology's polymathic prowess was anything to go by. From there on, all manner of noise-making calamities ensued, usually instigated by myself, and Chris Warner, or my best bean as he has come to be known, was there to save the day at every turn. A passionate storyteller in music and sound, Chris is equally at home working in the theatre as in the recording studio, from small-scale rural touring theatre projects and educational media work to major TV series and large-scale theatrical productions. Blessed with a penchant for the intersection of technology and art, his latest focus has brought about the integration of live coding and other software applications into the musical and dramatic productions on which he works. Here then, a commissioned work for the award-winning vocal trio Juice Vocal Ensemble, from their record Snow Queens, scored for 3 voices and tuned bottles. What else? This is Blow, Blow, Thou Winter Wind. The Juice Vocal Ensemble there, with tuned bottles in tow. Composed by Chris Warner, that was Blow, Blow, Thou Winter Wind. So what's going on? Well, this very morning I had the tremendous privilege of performing for Italian cellist Riccardo Pez's fantastic online music Andro Tutto Bene festival. My thanks to the team that assisted me therein to get the broadcast through, as it were, to Riccardo himself for founding the initiative, to Yuki and Roberto on the team, Roberto particularly for his handsome introduction in Italian to my songs and noises. Word has it that I'll be returning to the festival for a closing concert appearance somewhere down the line, so more on that in the times to come, no doubt. Next up in the featured music go-round, Dani Howard. I first met Dani properly when she and the conductor Pablo Urbina were tasked with restoring the archives of the late great composer Michael Kamen. I was an enormous fan of Kamen's works, most especially his soundtrack to the 1991 film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and was delighted to find myself invited to a performance of Kamen's works thereafter, put together by Dani and Pablo, conducted by Pablo, and which began with a spine-tingling overture to that movie's soundtrack. Imbued with all the cinematic strength and lyrical romanticism you could ever hope for, I'm honoured to include in tonight's show a favourite Dani track of mine. Composed for symphony orchestra, this is Argentum. the sublime Argentum there, composed by Dani Howard, originally commissioned by Classic FM and the Royal Philharmonic Society for Classic FM's 25th anniversary concert. At this stage in previous shows, I've found cause to elaborate upon political philosophy and grand reckonings with the purpose of being and otherwise. Tonight, as the numbers on the news hit people ever closer to home here, I find myself seeking comfort in some great passages of literature from eras long gone. This afternoon, when putting this show together, my attentions turned to an old copy of the J. Mead Faulkner novel Moonfleet, read to me by my father as a child. To avoid all but one spoiler, I won't give you too much of a Cliff Notes summary here, besides saying that I find the novel a story of unity, as each act, as it were, is unified through the protagonist, 15-year-old John Trenchard's telling of it. The spoiler here is that Trenchard's mentor/father figure, Elzevir Block, sacrifices his own life to save the boys, and, in the closing passages, Trenchard reflects in adulthood upon the meaning of that sacrifice, as he follows in Block's footsteps, saving shipwrecked crews from the storm-tossed waves of the Dorset coast. I think the book caught the light for me today because of the necessity of unity and sacrifice that these times we are enduring so require, and the need we all have at present to reach that other side, that destination beyond the darkness, that point of learned reflection which we must never again take for granted. Here then, the closing words of that book, for all those who, unified, make the sacrifices now to save our future from further preventable tragedies. As for us, for Grace and me, we never leave this our happy Moonfleet, being well content to see the dawn tipping the long cliff line with gold, and the night walking in dew across the meadows. To watch the spring clothe the beech boughs with green, or the figs ripen on the southern wall, while behind all is spread as a curtain the eternal sea, ever the same and ever changing. Yet I love to see it best when it is lashed to madness in the autumn gale, and to hear the grinding roar and churn of the pebbles like a great organ playing all the night. 'Tis then I turn in bed, and thank God, more from the heart perhaps than any other living man, that I am not fighting for my life on Moonfleet Beach. And more than once I have stood rope in hand in that same awful place, and tried to save a struggling wretch, but never saw one come through the surf alive on such a night as he saved me. Closing out tonight's Noisecast now with the sublime Rob Barron Quartet, featuring Colin Oxley on guitar, Jeremy Brown on double bass, Joshua Morrison on drums, and, of course, the mighty Rob Barron on piano. Rob and I go back nearly 19 years now, and again, adjectives are in high demand when it comes to the man's talents. We have shared stages all across the UK, and his credits in jazz, in film, in pop, and every other environment in which you can shake a piano are endless and impressive in the extreme. As usual with my descriptive setups here, though, a favourite moment, if I may. After a rehearsal for a BBC Live session together back in 2007, Rob and I sat in a pub in Neasden. A young ne'er-do-well approaches with a deteriorating fold-away battery-powered piano keyboard made of some sort of factory reject polystyrene. He offers it to us to buy for our non-existent children at the incredibly generous price of £150. Cash. Now. Like, right now. Rob turns to me and smiles. Together, we lay 4 hands on the thing and proceed to improvise with no small modicum of assured enthusiasm. The delight on the young man's face grows evident. His ideal customers sat in the corner of a pub in Neasden at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. "So you'll buy it," he says. Rob, gently and consummately, folds the keyboard away, hands it to the would-be salesperson in silence, then says to me, "Pint somewhere else?" Here, with a song he and I have performed on many an occasion, the opening lyrics of which I feel are all too pertinent in this moment. No tears, no fears. Remember, there's always tomorrow. So what if we have to part? We'll be together again. I leave you then tonight with the Rob Barron Quartet, and we'll be together again. I'm Michael L. Roberts. Links below as always. Make your enjoyment count, and see you Monday for the next installment of the American Chronicle. Good luck, and ever onward to you all.